Hello chess lovers, let's have a look at a game played by Boris, Spassky and Robert Fischer. The game was played in 1960. At that time Robert Fischer was only 17 years old and this was their first encounter. Let's see how the game went on. Spassky started with e4, e5 by Fischer, and Spassky goes for this aggressive king's gambit. E takes f4, we see king's gambit accepted, knight f3 and g5 by Fischer. A year later, in 1961, Fischer published an article, A Bust to the King's Gambit, offering d6, which he called it as a high-class waiting move. Also, I would like to read a short passage from that article. In my opinion, the King's Gambit is busted. It loses by force. Of course, white can always play differently, in which case he merely loses differently. Let's go on. We see h4 by Spassky, g4, knight e5. This is the Kieseritsky gambit. Knight f6, d4, d6, knight d3, knight takes e4, bishop takes f4, bishop g7, and knight c3. In his article, Fischer offers c3. If queen e7, then queen e2. Though, of course, black has a slight advantage. Let's go back. We see knight c3 in the game, knight takes c3, b takes c3, and targeting white's center, black plays c5, putting pressure on this d4 pawn. Bishop e2. Well, if queen e2 check, black has this bishop e6 move, and of course d5 is not good because simply black can capture on c3 and this is winning for black. We see after c5 bishop e2 in the game, c takes d4, white castles, knight c6, bishop takes g4, black castles, bishop takes c8, rook takes c8, queen g4, f5, queen g3 putting pressure on d6 pawn, d takes c3 and rook e1. Capturing on d6 is not possible because after rook f6, if bishop f4 then rook g6, black has great attacking chances. And if a move like bishop e5, this is just losing after rook g6. If queen f4 then queen d5, both attacking the bishop on e5, also threatening a checkmate on g2. We see rook e1 in the game, king h8, getting rid of this pin and also planning to bring the rook to g8 square. And now king h1 by Spassky. After king h8, in this position already it's possible to capture on d6. I want you to understand the difference. If rook f6, now already white can play bishop e5. And if rook g6, then queen f4. If queen d5, then queen f3. Already white rook is on e1 and the bishop on e5 is protected. Let's compare this position with the position we see without rook e1. In this case, white is losing a piece. Let's go back. We see after king h8, king h1, rook g8, bishop takes d6, bishop f8, bishop e5 check, knight takes e5, getting rid of this bishop, queen takes e5 check, rook g7, rook takes f5, queen takes h4 check, king g1, queen g4. Well, according to Spassky, a better move was queen g3. And after the exchange of queens, black still has a slight advantage. But after king g1, we see queen g4, rook f2, bishop e7, rook e4, and queen g5. Fischer could have drawn the game by playing queen d1 check. If rook e1, then queen g4. And again, if rook e1, then repeating the moves. But probably he was playing for a win, he played queen g5. We see queen d4, attacking the pawn on a7, and in this position Fischer blundered. Well, a normal move is b6, protecting the pawn, but he played rook f8, which is losing on the spot. And after... Can you find the winning move in this position? Ready? Well, after rook e5, black is in trouble. If queen g6, then simply rook takes e7, the rook on g7 is pinned. Or if bishop f6, then queen d6 is very strong. Again, black is losing. That's why after rook e5, Fischer played rook d8, but after queen e4, queen h4, and rook f4, Fischer resigned. If queen g3, then simply rook takes e7. During all the game, Fischer just played an excellent game, but unfortunately, in this position, he blundered. Your comments and questions, please, and thanks for watching. Good luck.